About 4 days ago, from me recording this video on April 10th, we got a new dev blog from the developers on what has been going on with Gen 4. Basically, it's a giant overview of Gen 4, and today we're going to be talking about what they go over and how they go over it in the dev blog and what it means for the future and maybe some of my predictions along with some of the things that I want to see in the future. So this is the start of the dev blog. We start off with an introduction by the community manager Zoxic, or Real Zoxic on Discord, and he also throws in a nice little reference to Taco Fett's channel. If you're not already subscribed to Taco Fett, there will be a link in the description down below to subscribe to him because he's a really cool guy. I love him. Anyway, then we dive a little bit deeper from Administrator Nar, who is the head developer of the game. Something that he mentions right off the bat is that BRM5 has realistic mechanics and is meant to be, but it is meant to be fun, and thus includes many arcade elements, such as the ability to tank hundreds of bullets while eating vitamins. So, something that I want to point out really quick, BRM5 was never intended to be a milsim. It was never intended to be a milsim, and we know that because about 4, maybe even 5 years ago at this point, Mike JTL, a very popular YouTuber back in the day who did BRM5 content exclusively, he actually did an interview with Administrator Nar, or like sort of a podcast type deal, and Nar specifically stated that he never wanted the game to be a milsim. He wanted it to be more arcadey, is the actual, and I'm putting air quotes on that as arcadey, because that is what he said. He said he wanted the game to feel more like an arcade with realistic aspects rather than a milsim. So that's something that we've absolutely seen over the years. He then goes into why they had to rewrite the framework from Gen 3 to Gen 4. Basically, these are the 4 bullet points. Gen 3 gunplay was not simple and enjoyable. Or, gunplay was simply not enjoyable, my bad. Gen 3 lacked team play, which is something that we saw very heavily in Gen 4, with the idea that not everybody can pilot a helicopter. Things like that are really just, and with the increased AI difficulty, it's really important that now you bring people who are actually capable of taking down a compound even when you are raiding it. AI were extremely brain dead. This is a point I want to talk about, and it's something that I have talked about. AI is a little too smart right now. They kind of just know everything of what's going on, and because of it, it makes it really hard to play solo, which is something that, while sure, we need team play in BRM5, we also need solo play because a mass amount of the player base is solo play. So, having this extremely brain dead AI was obviously not good and it needed to be fixed, but also, along with the lacked team play thing, we also needed a solo avenue coming into Gen 4, which is something that we just simply did not see. Gen 3 also lacked vehicles lacked skill. So basically, now they've made it much harder, and of course they mention it later on, but they also took inspiration from Arma 3 controls, which is something I don't play Arma 3, so I don't actually know if that's true or not. I don't know how accurate the controls are being translated over. I don't know. Gen 4 in retrospect, basically they go over how it was really easy to basically they're very happy with how Gen 4 has released, and they also basically say here, actually, not basically, they say here, greatest strength of Gen 4 is how easy it is to develop on, and this is evident by the almost bi-weekly updates we have been doing. So, these bi-weekly updates, I'm loving them. I absolutely adore them because I think that Actually, I think this week we should be getting an update, which is good because I really want to see some more updates, some more content in the game. Whether it's just bug fixes or whatever, it's still going to help. They also tend to be tweaking AI in every single update, so that's also a good thing. Um, he also says he's a sucker. Administrator Nash says he's a sucker for nostalgia, but it's hard to argue that previous versions of BRM5 beat where it is today. I have a slight differing opinion on this. I think that Operation Viper was genuinely one of the greatest operations we ever had as far as gameplay, mechanics, and anything else. It just felt the most. It felt like you were actually playing a really fun game, and I also liked the fact that they were doing Christmas updates and Halloween updates and all that. All that was in Viper, and I think a little bit of Nightfall. I could be wrong about that, but those Nightfall and Viper were the two, in my opinion, they were the most content-filled operations, which made Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5 actually really enjoyable. But I do think that Gen 4 is very playable and very enjoyable. They also go on and talk about new art direction. So they actually take a lot of inspiration from many real life locations, which I think is really cool, especially with the fact that this Runograd Island is an actual island on in the earth. It's in Alaska, or actually one of the islands of Alaska. I don't know if it's in Alaska or if it's in Russia. I'm not 100% sure, but it's really in between, so it's kind of hard to tell. I think it's one of the islands off of Alaska though. And taking inspiration from Russian kind of military bases is really cool. So like taking this church, for example, in Ivano Oblast by the Volga River, or the town of Plyos. My bad. Oblast is kind of like a region. So this is really cool. I think that that's incredibly insane. I also think that this Hungary air base, the inspired from the real life post-Soviet Shiraki air base in Georgia and Sarmelik air base in Hungary. Sorry if I butcher anything. I'm not Russian or Hungarian or Georgian, so I don't speak the language. Also, this Fort Ronograd's headquarters was based off of a headquarters of the futuristic Buzladza Monument and Military Academy building in Moscow. Again, if I butcher it, I apologize. To further enhance map visuals, nearly every material in-game has been replaced with high-resolution textures and lighting overhauled to reflect on old Soviet-type vapor lights. So this is good. I enjoy this too. Also, the Paradise-like island of the player's headquarters features custom sculpted terrain, fresh sets of tropical trees, sandy shores, providing a serene contrast to the harsher Soviet landscape of Runograd. I think that this is good too, because this kind of offers a new sense of what we may be able to see in the future. I don't know. I have a feeling that the boat map that we'd be getting after after zombies come out, and then option C, I believe. Option C is just basic content coming to the game, things like that, like new guns, new maps, things like that. I have a feeling that the boat update, the aquatic update that we might call it, is going to look a lot like this island. So I'm really excited to kind of see a preview of that, if it's going to look like that. BRM5 PvP maps, I'm going to be honest, let's see. There's really only one good one I can think of. Actually, I don't even really have a favorite PvP map. So, actually, Tokyo's okay. Coast is alright. The other three are just, they're not good. Favela and Manhattan never actually load, and Office kind of just isn't what I think it should be. So one of the things that I want to talk about is how PvP maps in general need to be redesigned, because right now they just, or not redesigned. We need new PvP maps. We need new. Getting the same 5 maps over and over and over again is not fun. And plus, when 3 of them suck and 2 of them are really good, you just hope and pray that you get one of those 2 good ones, and hope and pray you don't get the other 3. Level design is actually another thing that I wanted to point out. The terrain in Ronograd and the way that these bases are set up is actually really cool. And I think that they give us a little bit of a cool kind of snapshot as to what it looks like when they're building these locations, because this is naval base here. It took me a little bit to realize it, but when you look at these winding roads that kind of have these concrete barriers, and then you come here and there's more concrete barriers on the side and all this, and these winding roads, it's naval, obviously. And then they even say it down here, and this is kind of cool. I like stuff like this, to see stuff in progress. That's cool. Then it goes into AI upgrades and balancing. This is one of the biggest things in BRM5 that we absolutely need. We need better AI, because or we need, actually, I guess in the terms that I'm speaking of, we need worse AI, because AI right now is way too powerful. Way too powerful. However, I do kind of like that they provided a behavior tree, because now there is a little bit of an algorithm that we can kind of see to maybe study how AI works. And if I eventually learn the patterns of AI and how to do all that, then I will definitely go over them and make a whole video on that. So, and also they did release a survey on AI in the game. So I think that that's really cool as well, because hearing the community is something that PL5 devs need to do, and by having this survey, which is something that they've been doing recently, by the way, which is really good. Having this survey is really good, because now they can hear directly from the community, and that's perfect. Next up, they talk about gunplay improvements. Nothing is really, if you're new to the game, this is not going to apply to you. If you're from Gen 3, a lot has changed, but not a whole lot. I mean, a lot did change. But I think it's important to know that gunplay is better than what it was in Ronograd. They also mention the systems surrounding recoil have become more sophisticated. We make use of several factors to determine recoil behavior, from ammunition, weapon operating systems, the height of the player's optic, timing of muzzle devices, and even the mass of the weapon's components. So this is a good thing, because we actually get a look into how recoil is calculated, and therefore it's easier to explain to people how we can minimize recoil as much as possible when trying to pick out the best stuff. Rotary wing flight module. So obviously we see this, and it's a good thing. I think that originally I was not on board with the flight update, quote unquote. I was not happy with this. However, I actually do think that this is a good thing, and I think it adds a little bit of skill to vehicles, and I think it's fun. Now, I think flying helicopters is actually fun, because it's a skill to learn, and when you learn that skill, you therefore want to play the game more, because you're learning a skill. So that's a good thing. Not much else. They also mention, I believe they mention here that they took inspiration from Arma 3, and yeah. Also, content production philosophy. We see a lot more content coming in. They also mention how if you are, I believe it's down here somewhere, our research isn't perfect. So they talk about how they obviously take inspiration from many real life things, and they say that their research isn't perfect, nor is it all-inclusive. Obscure equipment can be particularly difficult to find reference material for. If you are a subject matter expert, service member, or enthusiast with information / experience to share, we'd like to hear from you. They also give you an email to send reference submissions. So if you are somebody who thinks that a uniform needs to be in the game or anything like that, please send them this, because I think it's important to get, obviously, a broader expanse. Optimization, there's not much to optimization. They kind of just change things around. And I mean, one of the things that we see is streaming. Streaming enabled is Roblox's system to dynamically load in or stream parts of the map in real time, meaning players on mobile phones and low-end computers can experience the game with more consistent performance and fewer frame drops. So it's actually somewhat of a drawback as well. As they mention here, the distance at which buildings and objects rendered cannot be changed per player. This means player on high-end hardware won't be able to experience the map's full potential with greater render distances. So basically, if you have your graphics on 10, it doesn't really make a difference, because either way, it's still going to load how it needs to be loaded and all that. Then he has a conclusion, basically just saying, he's thanking us for reading and thanking us for being the dedicated gamers we are. He also says thank you and have a good day. This video is already way longer than I want it to be, so I want to quickly point out the fact that I have to make the next video, or a future video, my predictions and my hopes and dreams for the future of Blackhawk Race Mission 5. Just because this video is already way longer than I want it to be. So quickly note that. Another thing I want to quickly point out, I am not a self-sellout. I will not be doing any of that. But I do want to quickly mention that I have now unlocked channel memberships on my channel, something I didn't have in my previous videos. So if you're willing and if you want to, you can go ahead and join the channel by going to my channel. So you actually have to click on my name or my icon down below in the video where you would usually subscribe, and you have to click on that and go to my main page and hit the join button next to the button that says either subscribe or subscribed. Probably can only do it if you're subscribed. I'm not 100% sure though. But again, if and you want to, I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying it's there. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't, then don't. I'm not going to get mad. There's a couple different tiers there. Choose the one that best fits your needs, your wants, and I appreciate the support if you don't, or if you do. If you don't, I appreciate you anyways. It's not going to change how I feel about you guys. It's just something that's there now, something that I want to point out. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next video.